My name is Richard Hartley, and if you'd told me 3 years ago that I'd sit in my daughter's kitchen, the house I helped buy, and watch her tell me there wasn't enough room for Christmas dinner, I would have called you a liar. But there I was, 58 years old, holding a gas station coffee in both hands because they were shaking, listening to Miranda explain why her real family needed the space more than I did. The weird thing? I wasn't surprised. Not really. Because by then, I'd already spent 6 months watching everyone I loved turn into strangers. And the thing that made it possible, the thing that showed me exactly who they all were, was me pretending I had nothing left to lose. Because I didn't. I'd already lost it all the day Diane's attorney smiled at me across that conference table. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. Cedar Rapids, Iowa, March 2021. I'd been married to Diane for 19 years, second marriage for both of us. I was a civil engineering inspector for the county. Steady work, decent benefits, nothing fancy, but solid. The kind of job where you wear steel toes and high-vis vests and spend half your day making sure contractors aren't cutting corners on drainage systems. My dad was Navy, 26 years, and he taught me young. You do the job right, you keep your word, you take care of your people. That was the deal. Diane had 2 kids from her first marriage when we met, Miranda, who was 12 then, and Josh, who was 9. Their biological father, Craig, was one of those guys who showed up for birthdays with expensive gifts and 0 child support. Loud, all flash, the kind of man who wore cologne you could smell from across a parking lot. I was the opposite. Quiet, steady. The one who made sure the bills got paid and the furnace got serviced, and somebody remembered to pick them up from soccer practice. For 19 years, that's what I did. I wasn't their real dad. They made sure I knew that, especially when they were teenagers. But I was the one who showed up. Miranda's college fund? Me. Josh's car when he turned 18? Me. The down payment on Miranda's starter home when she got married? Also me. Diane didn't work much, some part-time stuff at Hy-Vee, then a few years doing medical billing from home. But mostly she focused on finding herself. That's what she called it. I called it spending money on yoga retreats and redecorating the living room every 18 months. I didn't mind. Not really. Or maybe I did, and I just got good at not thinking about it. My dad used to say, a man's word is his bond, and his family is his responsibility. So that's what I did. I provided. I showed up. I kept my mouth shut when Craig swooped in at graduation with his new girlfriend and got all the hugs while I stood in the back holding the camera. The first crack came in January 2021. Small thing. Diane's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower, and I glanced at it without thinking. Text from someone named M. Just 2 words, miss you. I stared at it for maybe 5 seconds. The furnace clicked on. The clock above the stove ticked. Outside, the sky was that flat gray color it gets in Iowa winter, like someone pulled a wool blanket over the sun. I told myself it was nothing. A friend, some woman from her book club. But I didn't believe it. For 3 weeks, I watched. Didn't say anything, just watched. Diane started going to yoga on Tuesday and Thursday nights. She bought new clothes. Nothing crazy, just nicer stuff than she usually wore to run errands. She smiled at her phone a lot, and she stopped asking me about my day. That last part was what got me. Not the late nights or the new underwear or the way she angled her phone away when I walked into her room. It was the silence, the way I could sit across from her at dinner and feel like I was invisible, like I was already gone. By February, I knew. I didn't have proof yet, but I knew. So I did what I do. I started documenting. Small notebook from Menards, black cover, 79 cents. I wrote down every time she went to yoga, every time she said she was meeting Katie for lunch but came home smelling like men's cologne, every charge on the credit card that didn't make sense. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet. I just knew I needed to see it clearly. On March 4th, I came home early. Pipe inspection got canceled because of freezing rain, so I was back by 2:30 instead of 6. Diane's car was in the driveway. So was a silver Lexus I didn't recognize. I sat in my truck for a minute. The rain tapped against the windshield. The radio was playing some old Springsteen song, I'm on Fire. And I thought about how my dad used to say that was the saddest song ever written. Not because of the lyrics, but because of what wasn't said. The space between the words. I went in through the side door, quiet. The house smelled like her lavender candles and something else, something sharp. I stood in the mudroom and heard it, her laugh, coming from upstairs. Not the laugh she used with me, something lighter, younger. I didn't go upstairs. I just stood there, one hand on the doorframe, listening to my wife laugh with another man in our bedroom. And I felt something in my chest go quiet and cold. Not anger, something else. Something that felt like the sound of ice cracking on a frozen lake. I turned around and walked back out, got in my truck, drove to the VFW post 788 on First Avenue, and sat in the parking lot until the shaking stopped. His name was Marcus, I found out later. Attorney told me. Investment advisor from Marion. Divorced, 52 years old. Met Diane at some self-care seminar she went to in November. Apparently they bonded over feeling unappreciated in their marriages. I didn't confront her, not then. I spent 2 more weeks documenting. Took screenshots of the phone records I pulled from our account. Marked every charge on the credit card that didn't line up. Hotels, restaurants, a weekend trip to Galena I supposedly knew about but definitely didn't. I made copies of everything, put them in a manila folder with tabs. My hands didn't shake anymore. That cold, quiet thing had settled into my bones, and it felt almost peaceful, like I was finally seeing clearly after years of trying to read in dim light. On March 20th, I met with an attorney. Her name was Barbara Nguyen, office on 3rd Street above the credit union, 50-something, sharp as a blade. I gave her the folder. She looked through it for maybe 10 minutes. Then she looked up at me, took off her reading glasses, and said, "Mr. Hartley, you've been very thorough. My dad was in the Navy. He taught me to keep records. This is good for you," she said. "Iowa's a no-fault state, but this establishes a pattern of deception. Combined with the financial records, we can make a strong case that she's been using marital assets for the affair. That matters for division of property." I nodded. Outside her window, I could see the courthouse. Gray stone, solid. "How long?" 4 to 6 months if she doesn't contest. Longer if she does. "She'll contest," I said. Barbara smiled. Not mean, just knowing. They usually do. And I filed on March 23rd. Didn't tell Diane first. Just had her served at home while I was at work. By the time I got back that evening, she'd called me 17 times. I ignored them all. When I walked in, she was sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out in front of her, mascara smudged, looking at me like I'd shot her dog. "How could you do this?" she said. I set my keys on the counter. The kitchen smelled like burnt coffee and lemon cleaner. "Do what?" "This." She held up the papers. Her hand was shaking. "Without even talking to me." "We can talk now," I said. For a second, she just stared. Then, "Rich, I know things haven't been perfect, but we can work on this. We can go to counseling. With Marcus?" Her face went pale, just for a moment. Then the tears started. It's not what you think." "I think you've been sleeping with him since November," I said. "I think you used our credit card to pay for hotel rooms. I think you told me you were at yoga while you were with him. Am I wrong?" She didn't answer, just sat there crying, and I felt that cold, quiet thing spread a little wider. "I'm staying at the Fairfield Inn for now," I said. "My attorney will be in touch." "Rich, please!" "I loved you," I said. "That should have been enough." I walked out. Didn't take much. Some clothes, my work boots, the notebook. The rest could wait. The divorce took 8 months. Diane hired Craig's brother's attorney, some guy named Brandon who wore too much hair gel and thought he was smarter than he was. They fought everything. Tried to claim I'd been financially controlling. Tried to say the money I'd put into Miranda's house was a gift, not a loan. Tried to get spousal support even though she'd been the one cheating. Barbara was patient, methodical. Every time Brandon made a claim, she'd pull out another document from my folder. Bank statements, credit card records, the phone records showing 1,247 calls between Diane and Marcus over 4 months. By November, Brandon stopped making eye contact. The settlement came through in December 2021. We split the house sale, modest 3-bedroom ranch on the south side, nothing special, sold for $285,000. After paying off the mortgage, we each walked away with about $67,000. The retirement accounts got split. I kept my pension, she got half my 401k. I kept my truck, she kept her car. But here's what mattered. The house I'd helped Miranda buy, that $40,000 I gave her for the down payment, the court ruled it was a loan, not a gift, because I'd documented it that way. Same with the $8,000 I'd loaned Josh for his car repairs last year. All of it, documented, dated, noted. Diane tried to argue it was family money, gifts given freely, but Barbara had the paperwork. The judge ruled I was owed repayment. Didn't specify a timeline, just said it was a valid debt. Miranda stopped answering my calls after that.
Here's where I made a choice. And I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either. I had about $73,000 after everything was settled. The house money, some savings, a little extra from selling furniture and tools I didn't need. For a guy who'd worked steady for 37 years, it wasn't much, but it was enough to start over. I could have rented a decent apartment, maybe even put a down payment on a small place. Could have lived comfortably, kept my same life, just without Diane. But I wanted to know something. Needed to know it, actually, in a way that felt like hunger. I wanted to know who my real family was. So I took that $73,000 and I put it somewhere safe. Opened a new account at a credit union in Marion, not the one in Cedar Rapids where everyone knew me. Put it all there. Left about $1,200 in my regular checking account, just enough to look broke. Then I moved into the cheapest place I could find. Efficiency apartment above Casey's General Store on 10th Street, $475 a month, one room with a kitchenette and a bathroom where the toilet ran constantly. The carpet was that thin brown kind that's been there since 1987. The windows didn't seal right, so you could feel the cold air leaking in all winter. It smelled like old coffee and motor oil from the gas station downstairs. I bought furniture from Goodwill, a couch with one broken spring, a kitchen table with wobbly legs, a mattress on the floor. I kept driving my truck, 2003 F-150 with 240,000 miles, rust along the wheel wells, check engine light that had been on for 3 years. I wore the same Carhartt jacket I'd had for a decade, the one with the tear in the pocket and the grease stains on the cuffs. To anyone looking, I was a guy who'd lost everything in a divorce, barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. And then I waited to see who would call. For the first month, nobody did. Miranda didn't reach out. Josh didn't reach out. Diane sent a few texts, nasty ones, mostly about the loan repayment, but nothing asking if I was okay. Craig posted on Facebook about taking his kids to some fancy steakhouse. Miranda commented with a heart emoji. I sat in my efficiency apartment eating rotisserie chicken from Hy-Vee and watching the steam fog up the windows, and I thought about my dad. He'd died 8 years earlier, heart attack at 74, still doing volunteer work at the VFW until the week before. At his funeral, the place was packed. Guys he'd served with, guys he'd mentored, guys whose kids he'd helped get into the Naval Academy. "Your father was a man who kept his word," Commander Peterson said in his eulogy. and that's the rarest thing in the world. I wondered if I'd kept mine, or if I'd just been a fool.
In February 2022, Miranda called, not to check on me, to ask for money. "Hey, Dad," she said. Her voice had that bright, fake quality, like she was trying to sell me something. "How are you?" "I'm fine," I said. I was sitting on my Goodwill couch, watching snow fall past the window. The streetlight outside flickered orange. "Good, good." A pause. "So listen, Jake and I are trying to do some renovations on the house. You know, updating the kitchen, maybe adding a deck, and I was wondering if you might be able to help out a little, like you used to." "How much do you need?" "Maybe 15,000? I know it's a lot, but—" "I don't have it," I said. Silence. Then, "What do you mean?" "I mean, I don't have $15,000, Miranda. I don't have $1,500. "But you have your job and the settlement." "The settlement got split," I said, "and after paying my attorney and first last month on this apartment, there's not much left. I'm living in an efficiency above a gas station. The toilet runs all the time." Another silence. Longer this time. "Oh," she said finally, "I didn't realize things were that tight." "Yeah." "Well, okay. I guess we'll figure something out." "I guess so." She hung up without saying goodbye.
3 weeks later, I got a Facebook message from Josh. He was living in Des Moines by then, working at some tech startup, always posting about his hustle and his grind. "Hey man," the message said, "heard things are rough. That sucks." I stared at it for a minute. Then I typed, "Yeah, it's been an adjustment." "For sure. Hey, random question. You still have that vintage tool set Grandpa left you? The one in the red box?" "My dad's tools. Snap-on set from the 70s. Worth maybe $800 if you sold them right. He'd given them to me the year before he died." "Why?" I typed. "I've got a buddy who's into that stuff. He'd probably give you decent money for them. Might help you out." I set the phone down, looked around my efficiency apartment, at the wobbly table and the broken couch and the mattress on the floor. Then I picked the phone back up. "I sold them already," I typed. "Needed rent money." "Oh, damn. Okay." He didn't message again. By spring 2022, the pattern was clear. Miranda called once more to ask if I'd co-sign a loan for a new car. When I said I couldn't, she said, "I don't understand why you're being like this." "Like what?" "Difficult. You used to always help." "I used to have money," I said. "Well, maybe if you'd been smarter about the divorce." I hung up. Josh sent me a birthday card in April. No money inside. Just a generic message, "Hope you're doing well." I put it on the fridge and looked at it for 3 days before throwing it away. Diane got engaged to Marcus in May. Posted it on Facebook with a photo of them on some beach in Florida, her hand held up to show off the ring, both of them grinning. The post had 73 likes. Miranda and Josh both commented, "So happy for you guys." I sat in my apartment and ate microwave dinners and felt that cold, quiet thing spread until there was nothing else. In June, I ran into Craig at the Walmart on Edgewood Road. I was buying cheap beer and frozen pizzas. He was with his girlfriend, loading up a cart with steaks and wine and one of those expensive Traeger grills. He saw me first. "Rich!" Big smile, big voice, cologne that smelled like a department store. "How you been, man?" "Good," I said. He looked at my cart, at my clothes. Same torn Carhartt, same worn work boots. His smile got a little wider, a little sharper. "Heard about the divorce. Tough break." "It is what it is." "Yeah, well," he shrugged. "Sometimes things just don't work out, you know? But hey, the kids are doing great. Took 'em out last weekend. Josh is killing it at his new job, and Miranda's place is looking amazing. You seen the renovations? No. Aw, man, you should stop by. They redid the whole kitchen, granite countertops, new appliances, the works. Jake did most of the labor himself, but I helped with the financing. That's what dads do, right? He clapped me on the shoulder. Anyway, good seeing you, Rich. Take care of yourself. He walked away. I stood there in the frozen food aisle, holding my case of Busch Light and my $3 pizzas, and I thought about the $40,000 I'd given Miranda for that house, the house Craig was now taking credit for. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Someone's shopping cart squeaked past. I put the beer and pizzas back and left without buying anything. That night, I called Barbara Nguyen. "Mr. Hartley," she said. "It's been a while. How are you?" "I need to talk about those loans," I said. "The ones to Miranda and Josh." "The court ruled those were valid debts," she said. "You're entitled to repayment." "I know, but they're not paying. Haven't even asked about a payment plan. Do you want to pursue collection?" I thought about it. About Miranda's renovated kitchen and Josh's new car and Craig's smile in the frozen food aisle. About 19 years of showing up and keeping my word and doing the job right. "Yes," I said. "It'll require going back to court, filing a motion. It won't be cheap. I don't care what it costs." There was a pause. Then Barbara said quietly, "Mr. Hartley, can I ask you something? What do you hope to get out of this?" "The truth," I said. The legal process took 4 months. Barbara filed a motion to enforce the debt repayment. Miranda and Josh both hired attorneys. Brandon, the same guy who'd represented Diane, which should have told me everything. They argued the money was gifts. They argued I was being vindictive. They argued I didn't actually need the money back. Barbara was patient, presented the documentation, the signed promissory notes I'd insisted on at the time, just for tax purposes, I'd told them then, which they'd thought was silly but signed anyway. The payment records showing I'd given the money with the explicit understanding it would be repaid when they were stable. In October 2022, the judge ruled in my favor. Miranda owed $40,000, Josh owed $8,000. They had 90 days to begin repayment or face wage garnishment. Miranda's attorney asked for a meeting before the ruling went into effect. I agreed. We met at Barbara's office on a Tuesday morning. Cold rain falling, the kind that makes everything look gray and tired. Miranda sat across from me. She'd lost weight, had that pinched look around her eyes that people get when they're stressed. Her attorney sat next to her. Young guy, too much hair gel, trying to look confident. "Mr. Hartley," he said, "my client would like to discuss a settlement." "I'm listening," I said. "Given the financial strain this would place on her family, we'd like to propose a payment plan. $500 a month for $40,000 at $500 a month is 80 months, 6 years and 8 months without interest. We're willing to discuss interest," the attorney said quickly. "What about the principal?" I asked. Everyone looked at me. "The principal of it," I said. "I gave her that money. I showed up for 19 years. I was at every recital and every graduation and every birthday. I bought groceries and paid for braces and made sure the lights stayed on. And the moment I didn't have money to give, she stopped calling." "Dad," Miranda started. "I'm not done," I said. Not loud, just firm. "I'm not doing this because I need the money. I'm doing it because I need to know if you ever saw me as family or just a bank account." Her face did something complicated. Part anger, part guilt, part something else I couldn't read. "That's not fair," she said. "Neither was Thanksgiving," I said. She blinked. "What?" "Last year, November 2022, I called to ask if I could come for dinner. You said you didn't have room, but you posted pictures. There was plenty of room. Craig was there. His girlfriend was there. Your mom and Marcus were there, but not me. That was complicated, because I was broke." Silence. The rain tapped against the window. Someone's phone buzzed. Miranda looked at her attorney, then back at me. "You've got 90 days. After that, it's wage garnishment." I stood up. Barbara gathered her papers. We walked out. They paid, not all at once. Miranda set up a payment plan, $1,000 a month, which was more than the judge required. Josh paid his in a lump sum, borrowed it from Craig, which I thought was fitting. But here's what mattered. They paid, and in paying, they had to acknowledge what they'd done, had to sit with it, had to explain to their spouses and their friends why they owed their ex-stepfather $48,000. By December 2022, people knew. Small town, news travels. The story got around. The guy who'd raised his stepkids for 19 years, only to get dropped the moment he couldn't give them money anymore. Some people thought I was vindictive. Some people thought I was right. I didn't care about either group. I cared about the people who quietly reached out. Jim Wheeler from the VFW, who I'd worked with on some projects, called to ask if I wanted to grab coffee. Didn't ask for the story, didn't offer advice, just sat with me at the counter at the Little Bohemia Diner and talked about the weather and the road construction on First Avenue. Mary Carson, who lived next door to me for 8 years before the divorce, sent me a card. Just 2 sentences. "You were always kind to my grandkids. That's the measure of a man." And Barbara Nguyen, who sent me a final bill with a note at the bottom. "Mr. Hartley, your father would be proud. You kept your word." In January 2023, I did something I should have done months earlier. I went to the credit union in Marion and moved my money back to my regular account. All $73,000 of it, plus the $48,000 for Miranda and Josh, minus legal fees. About $98,000 total. Then I went looking at apartments. Found a decent 1-bedroom on the southwest side, $850 a month, 2nd floor, clean carpet, windows that sealed properly. The landlord, guy in his 60s named Tom, looked at my application and said, "You're the inspector, right? Work for the county?" "That's right." "My nephew works there. Says you're thorough. Don't let contractors get away with anything?" "I do my job," I said. "That's rare," Tom said. He held out his hand. "You want it, it's yours." I moved in February 1st. Bought real furniture. Nothing fancy, just solid stuff from the furniture store on First Avenue. Got a bed frame, a couch that didn't have broken springs, a kitchen table that didn't wobble. I hung my dad's Navy portrait on the wall, the one from his retirement ceremony, him in his dress whites, looking straight at the camera with that expression he always had. Serious, steady, present. I stood there looking at it for a long time. Then I said, out loud, "I kept my word, Dad." The apartment was quiet. The furnace hummed. Outside, the winter sun was setting, turning the snow pink and gold. For the first time in 2 years, I felt light. I need to tell you what happened at Christmas 2023, because that's when it all came full circle. Miranda called in November. Her voice was different, smaller, uncertain. "Dad, can we talk?" I was at my apartment, drinking coffee, watching the snow start to fall. "Sure," I said. "I wanted to apologize," she said, "for everything. The way I acted after the divorce, the things I said, the way I stopped calling." I didn't say anything, just waited. "I've been thinking a lot," she continued, "about what you said, about the money and the Thanksgiving and all of it. And you were right. I did treat you like a bank account. I didn't realize it at the time, but I did." "Why?" I asked. "I don't know. I think it was easier. Craig was fun. He showed up for the good stuff and left before things got hard. And you were just there, steady, boring even. I took it for granted, took you for granted." Outside my window, the streetlights came on. The snow fell through the orange glow. "Jake and I have been going to therapy," she said, "talking about family stuff, and I realized something. Craig might be my biological father, but you're the one who raised me. You're the one who showed up, and I'm sorry I forgot that." I closed my eyes, felt something crack in my chest, but not the cold, quiet way. Something warmer, something that hurt, but in a good way. "We'd like you to come for Christmas," she said. "If you want. No pressure, but we'd like you there." "What about Craig?" "He's not invited," she said. "Not this year."
I went, December 25th, 2023. Drove to Miranda's house in my truck, the heater rattling, the sky gray and heavy with snow. I brought a bottle of wine and a box of those cookies my dad used to make at Christmas, molasses with powdered sugar, his mother's recipe. When I got there, Jake answered the door, shook my hand. "Good to see you, Rich." "You too," I said. Inside, the house smelled like turkey and pie. Miranda hugged me, held on a little longer than usual. Josh was there too, looking uncomfortable, but he nodded at me. "Hey." "Hey," I said. We had dinner. It was awkward at first. Nobody quite knew what to say. But then Miranda asked me about work, and I told her about a project I was inspecting, a new drainage system on the north side, and how the contractor kept trying to use cheaper materials until I caught him. Jake laughed. Josh asked questions. And slowly, carefully, we found our way back to something that felt like family. After dinner, Miranda pulled me aside, handed me an envelope. "This is the last payment," she said. "You're all paid up." I opened it. Check for $1,000, the final installment. "You didn't have to do this today," I said. "I wanted to," she said. "I wanted it done, so we could start fresh." I looked at her, at the woman she'd become, 31 years old, with her own life and her own struggles and her own path forward. "I loved you," I said. "That's why I stayed. Not for the money, not for credit, because I loved you." Her eyes filled. "I know," she said. "I know that now." I wish I could tell you it's perfect now, that we're some reunited, healed family with no scars, but that's not how it works. Josh and I are still distant. We're working on it, but it's slow. Miranda and I talk more, but there's still awkwardness, still moments where we both remember what happened and don't quite know how to move past it. But here's what I learned. You can't force people to value you. You can't make them see your worth. All you can do is set boundaries, keep your word, and let them decide if they want to be part of your life. Some people will choose money over integrity. They'll choose comfort over truth. They'll choose the easy path over the right one. And that's their choice to make. But you get to choose too. You get to decide what you'll accept, what you'll tolerate, what you'll walk away from. I'm 59 now. I've got my apartment and my truck and my job. I've got enough money in the bank to feel stable. I've got a few good friends who check in without needing anything from me. I've got peace. And I've got my word. That's what my dad left me. Not money, not property, just the knowledge that a man's worth is measured by whether he does what he says he'll do, whether he shows up, whether he keeps his promises, even when it costs him. I kept mine, and in the end, that's all I needed.
If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt invisible, taken for granted, used for what you could provide instead of valued for who you are, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and you're not wrong to want better. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Walking away from people who only see you as an ATM isn't vindictive. It's self-respect. It's survival. You deserve people who show up for you when you have nothing to give, who call to check on you, not to ask for something, who see your worth even when you're broke and tired and living above a gas station eating frozen pizzas. And if you don't have those people, find them. Build that family. Because blood doesn't make you family. Showing up does. I'm Richard Hartley. I'm 59 years old. I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I inspect drainage systems and drink bad coffee and drive a truck with 250,000 miles on it. And I know exactly who my real family is. Because I tested it. And some passed and some failed. And that knowledge, painful as it was, set me free. Maybe it's time you tested yours.